because at 15 years old, I realized that any day I could die.
Hey guys, Jonathan again with Dirty2Dreamy.
Jonathan Monson is an entrepreneur turned detailer who overcame a childhood of trauma.
I learned that any day could be my last. And then I started living like that. And I started living out loud. And that's when I started doing the live videos and I started really putting that energy out there.
Here's a quick tip on how to get sand out of your floor mats.
By blaming myself, even the things that you don't think are your fault, just blame yourself, because the immediate next step is to what? Take action and fix it.
The family who owns this truck is going through hardship, so we wanted to surprise them with something nice.
Monson started small and failed plenty. Now he's here to share tips for success.
If you're working on a car right now, how did you get it? Did it come from Facebook? Did it come from a post? Was it a referral? Do that more. It's not hard. You got a phone, you got social media, you got Facebook groups, you've got so many easy ways to market.
You have a fully running detailing shop without you there.
Correct.
It can be done.
It absolutely can be done. It's like passing a kidney stone, but it can be done for sure. Success isn't achieved, it's rented. You have to put in the work.
Jonathan Monson, you have 314,000 followers on Instagram, some 370,000 on TikTok. What do you think it is about your message or how you convey it that has so many people listening?
I'd have to go back to the beginning of social media for me, which was Facebook. I took a personal journey and I did live videos for 365 days. And a little bit about myself: when I was 15 years old, my face was crushed. I was jumped, sucker punched with a lead-lined glove, had to have facial reconstructive surgery. And eventually in that 365 days, I told that story. And that story went like super viral. Ended up going to meet Rennie Doyle, went to one of Rennie Doyle's trainings because of it. And it opened a lot of like doors to new things because I just basically put me, myself, my story out there. So I promised myself that I would always do that. So I think personally, I think it's because I talk about the subjects that other people aren't willing to talk about personally. I really bear my, what you'd call your underbelly, I guess, if you're a dragon, my weak spots, because what I learned is by sharing my story and some of the things that people aren't willing to talk about, I know who's my supporter and who's not, because when you share the most vulnerable part of yourself and somebody talks bad about that or judges you, it's really easy to be like, yeah, you're not my people. So that's how it started, was Facebook, sharing my story, and then just really getting real. And those are the videos that still go the most viral for me.
I love that, being vulnerable and showing who you really are. People tend to respond to that. They always have when I've done that. But you mentioned your story, and I have a sense of it being a powerful one, but I'd love to hear it from you.
For sure. So it's actually funny because you don't realize how much something affects you until you start to get older and you start to see things. And, there's multiple facets to this story. There's different things that have happened in my business where I've run into other people that have connected with because of it. But when I was 15 years old, I was playing at a park, playing basketball with people that I knew. And these guys started throwing rocks at us. I went to a Christian school. I was Baptist. Like, I didn't swear. I wasn't a fight starter. I studied martial arts as a sport with my dad, so I knew how to at least protect myself. And these guys started throwing rocks at us. I walked to the center of the court and said, we're not trying to cause trouble. If you want us to leave, we'll leave. It's just me and my friend. Like, we don't have to be here. Don't know why you guys are trying to start fights with us, but we're good. They took a giant wine bottle and they threw it at the court we were playing on. It shattered all over the court. And I looked at my friend and said, I think maybe we should leave. Maybe, what do you think? And he's like, let's just move on to another court. So we moved to a different court, and this kid, Michael Acevedo, I'll never forget, because I played basketball with him almost every other weekend for like 2 years. I knew him. And he walked to the court we were playing on, and he said, so I hear you're starting trouble. And I said, Michael, no, this is what, and I started to tell him the story, and he sucker punched me. And I didn't know this at the time, but he hit me with a lead-lined glove. And that glove crushed my face. I crushed my orbital bone, my eye socket, broke the top part of my jaw. Ended up having to have 3 plates, 16 screws put in my face because of it. Stood toe-to-toe with him, defended myself against him and 2 other people that ended up stepping in because, again, I had martial arts experience. And then didn't know until I got home, looking in the mirror, that my face was crushed. Ended up going to the hospital, having facial reconstructive surgery. But that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was it still gets me emotional because you think about it. I like to stay attached to these things because the emotional impact that it had changes the way you are in life. If you look at this as, a lot of people would say this was the worst day of my life. I say it's the best day of my life because at 15 years old, I realized that any day I could die. So I started living my life at 15 like I could die any day. So I don't have the weird idiosyncrasies people have about others judging them and those kind of things because I almost died. But after that accident, he started following me around. He got in trouble by his father. He only got 16 days in jail. His father was a parole officer. The judge at the hearing said, I've done favors for your father in the past. This is the last favor. If you mess up again, you're going to jail. And me and my dad, we talk about this a lot. My dad actually brought a hunting rifle to the courthouse, and he had it in his trunk, and he was going to shoot the kid when he walked out. And he decided not to. He said something talked to me and said not to. And I said, Dad, I'm really glad that God spoke to you because if you had done that, I wouldn't have you to support me because the next 2 years was the hardest years of my life. It wasn't the accident that caused the frustration. It was dealing with the harassment. He followed me for almost 2 years. I'd go to a basketball court. He'd show up. I had a restraining order against him. He would still be there. I'd go bowling. We did midnight bowling, and he would randomly show up with his brother and his thug friends. I worked at Walmart at the time, and he would come into Walmart. I'd go back in the security office, and I'd watch the cameras and wait for him to leave. So I'd go back out and I'd do my job. His brother applied to work in the food court right next to me. His brother was a spitting image of him, and I'll never forget the eyes. He was a mulatto kid, so black and white, but had green eyes. And I'll never forget those eyes because I saw him when he punched me in the face. And his brother had his same eyes, looked spitting image of him. And because his brother was there, he would go visit him. So he would be right next to my department. And it wasn't until one day I stood in front of the door where he was trying to leave with his girlfriend. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I will kill you. I'm not going to let you treat me as a victim. I'm not going to let you continue to do this to me. It's been 2 years. If I see you again, I'm going to kill you. And I carried a K-bar. In New York, you can't have guns and stuff. You can't carry them easily. So I carried underneath my shoulder, I had a 9-inch knife that I carried shoulder harnessed.
And you're 17 at this time?
Yeah, 17 years old. Finally said this is it. And that's when I started to really heal, was when I finally stood up for myself. But when I hit 30, I didn't realize the patterns I had created. So like in a restaurant, I sit with my back towards the wall. I like to face the doors, crowds. My first SEMA, 2018, we actually went to SEMA to create exposure therapy because I didn't like crowds. So I said, well, what better crowd than SEMA? Everybody's going to know me there. They're all going to be walking up to me from social media and stuff. I had people give me hugs from behind and sneak up on me. And it was good. It was a growing experience, but what an experience it was. And I realized that I had all these things that I had bottled up because I hadn't actually dealt with the trauma of the situation. And I learned this through Kerwin Ray. Rest his soul. He was an Australian entrepreneur. He died at 49 years old. He died last year, died of a heart attack. But he basically produced content that teaches you how to go through your mindset, your mentality, the things that have happened in your past, and to really learn what it is that's holding you back from your childhood and redefine it. And that's when I learned to redefine that day as the best day of my life, because I learned that any day could be my last. And then I started living like that, and I started living out loud. And that's when I started doing the live videos, and I started really putting that energy out there. And it wasn't so much for other people. I mean, it was for me. I did live videos every day. It was therapy. It was like, if I put it out there live, it's now out in the public eye. I have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. So for me, it was therapy to grow through that hardship. And then I built the business because of that. We started mobile. We were in my driveway, 30-degree angle, gravel, mud, doing paint corrections and ceramic coatings, like stuff you'd never think you could succeed at. But I would have like anxiety attacks when certain things would happen. One of the great examples is I was going mobile to, I'm pretty sure it was Tacoma, and I parked, and this lady, the place I was supposed to go, there was a drug deal that happened right in front of me. And I had a panic immediately. I started crying. I put the van in gear, started driving home, tried to call the customer and leave her a voicemail, couldn't really talk because I was crying too much. Got home, called her back again, and said, I just wanted to apologize. I saw a drug deal go down in front of me, but this is why that bothered me. And I told her about my story, because I'd learned that if I speak the story, and people don't support that or they judge that, they're not my people. And it turns out she was a 911 operator. And she bonded completely from that story. She said, I'm actually a 911 operator, so I totally understand how this could affect you. Why don't we get to know each other? Why don't I bring my car to your house? You can do this work at your house, and I'll just get your top tier package, whatever it is you offer that's the highest level. And I fell apart. I was in tears. I was like, I can't believe you're willing to support me like that. And, we hugged it out. She came and visited. She's the sweetest lady ever. And she's been through that stuff. And that's, as I shared more and I grew more, I healed more. And that's why I did it. Everybody's like, oh, you did it for social media, for clout. It's like, I don't think you understand the journey I went through. I went through a journey of self-healing by sharing on social media. So for me, there's a different bond to social media than for most people. And then I just...
How amazing is it, to interrupt, I'm sorry, but to be so vulnerable and fully yourself and to be embraced like that. She's like, I want to support you, not only just to like get to know you, all your highest package, because I want to support you in that way. It just sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yep. And it's that was the journey that I went on. Like the more I shared, the more I ran into people that were like that. And to the point where like you don't realize how much somebody's going to support you until you share that deepest, darkest part about yourself. And then they support you 10 times harder than they would have supported you had they just known, the basics about you. It's pretty wild. It was a really awesome journey to go on, for sure.
So when you say detailing, like, you haven't told me how you got into detailing. Also, I've heard you say in some of your shows before that you were living in your car. I love you in the last 11 minutes that we haven't been able to cover. But I wonder if you could help me get filled in a little bit.
I've been through some stuff in my life, man. At the age of 2, I saw my grandfather's face splatter all over the concrete. He jumped off a 21-foot deck in front of me. I was swimming in the pool. I've been through homelessness. I've been through some stuff. And the same journey I went on to go through and mentally solve what was holding me back about being jumped is the same journey I went on for every other trauma I had as a kid. I ended up homeless because I tried to start my own business, run my own business, didn't have health insurance, got sick, ran out of money going to the doctors. So I ended up living in a 1979 RX-7 with a dog almost as big as that one, as beautiful as that look. Bella. Quit doing that on camera. Yeah, that's Bella. But I had a dog that was 70 pounds that lived in a 79 RX-7, which is not a very big car, lived homeless. But again, bottom of the barrel is the best way to propel yourself to the top. If you look at it right, the perspective of that is more powerful than succeeding all the time. I'd rather fail more because I learn more and I grow. And that's the mindset that I got from learning about the hardship of having my face crushed and getting through that, and then realizing, oh, I have all these other traumas. And some of them are, small, but like I said, I've been through some stuff. Some of them are really powerful, and we all bond through that. Everybody's been through a hardship. I've got, you can tell my story all day long, but there's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he's got no arms and no legs. He's a preacher and a multimillionaire. He swims with sharks. He's basically shark bait, and he swims with sharks. It's just crazy to think about. But the healing of the mind and self is how we scaled. It's how we grew our business. It was a personal journey, 100%.
I think a lot of people come into detailing from, difficult situations, whether it's like a broken home as a kid or trauma or just, life has been uniquely challenging for a lot of folk. And I think there's something about detailing that welcomes anybody who's willing to work hard. What role did detailing play in your journey? Obviously, you're living in a house now. You got 5 dogs behind you. It seems like Jonathan is sitting pretty at Dirty2Dreamy, but I know that didn't happen overnight. So I'm just sort of curious, like, what role detailing played for you. I'm kind of curious emotionally, physically, spiritually, the bigger picture. Like, can we speak to what detailing is, but also kind of how you progressed in your business journey?
The beginning of it was I actually got fired. Another wild, interesting story. I had a meeting with Sean, was the the owner of Best Tire Center, and I basically opened 7 stores for him. I set up online training, video. We recorded processes and things, and I was doing excellent. We had a meeting. We sat down and he was asking about what we want to do for your future. And I said, well, me and my husband want to own property. We want to have a rescue. We want to rescue animals. And he said, wife. And I said, no, husband. And he said, wife. And I said, no, husband. And he said, wife. I said, I think I know what kind of parts he has. Husband. Like, I don't know where we're going with this. And he ended the meeting. And 3 weeks after that, I was fired. And I was fired because somebody had an accident at the store on my day off. I was home. Accident happened. I ended up fired out of the whole thing. Not that I blame. Another thing I've learned is I don't place blame anywhere. Like, I don't blame him for that. I still take ownership. I sent some emails because he said some things to me. I said some things to him. I clicked the reply all button, which ended up getting me fired. And I started a detail business. I said to Andrew, I said, it doesn't make sense to make millions for other people anymore. I made Firestone millions. I made Meineke millions. Let's do it for us. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I like cleaning carpets. I like cleaning cars. I've been working on cars most of my life. Let's open a detail business. And he's like, okay, whatever you say.
That's your husband. Was he then partner, or like what year is this?
Yeah, that was, I want to say, so we've been together 9 years, 10 as of April 8th. April 8th, ironically, April 8th is the same day that my face was crushed too. It's our anniversary day too. I think that was year 1.5 where I started the detail business that we had been together. So I had already proposed. I proposed at 6 months. We were fiancés for like 6 years.
Okay. Well, you found your person.
I did.
I don't know that many people. Well, I certainly. I feel like that's something that most people are aspiring to, is to find their person. And my own journey includes a divorce, and so life is pretty good for me right now. DIY Details is going really well, and I love making videos and educating, and I love the podcast, but I think eventually it's like, I'd like to find my person. So you found yours early, and then sounds like he was willing to, be on board for the craziness that is entrepreneurship. So, like, you're mobile detailing, you're out of your home, you're in a shop. Walk me through that progression, because we know that's not easy.
No,
it's passion driven. It's passion driven, right? You love cleaning cars. Like, that's the barrier of entry. That's what gets you through the tough days. But then there's a lot of tough days.
100%. Well, and it's the mission is so important, and I've always had the mission. Ever since having my face crushed, going through that journey, I've always lived every day to help others. I was raised Baptist. We went street preaching. We fed people. We brought people to church. We used to go to the grocery store and pick up all the day-old stuff from the grocery store and then bring it to the inner cities and feed people. Worked in soup kitchens. So my mission is to help others. Always will be, always has been. So that's what drove me through all the hardship of the first car, the truck, the van, the trailer. I bought a trailer once. I was so excited to finally have a trailer. The guy replaced the bearings on it. Yeah, he replaced the bearings with bearings that were 1/2 inch too big, and I nearly died because the trailer almost went off the road. So we went through some stuff. The first car we had, I had bought. I was supposed to be district manager for Best Tire Center, so I bought my first newish car, new to me. It was a used 2017 Ford Focus. And if you know anything about cars, I believe it's 15 to 19 Ford Focuses have a transmission that's a manual inside of an automatic. And they decided to add power steering to it, basically a power steering reservoir within it here in the United States, which they didn't do in the European Union. That destroyed the transmission. It's a piece of junk. There's a recall for it. There's a lawsuit. So the transmission went out in that car twice while we were trying to use it for mobile detailing. I finally, I couldn't afford to just pay it off, so I gave it back to the bank. So we ended up switching from that to a truck, which was an upgrade because now we could carry everything in the back of a truck, little Ford Ranger. And then we went truck with trailer. And then we went van, and van was obviously the most efficient. And then van to canopy in the driveway. We started doing coatings in 2018, and all that stuff happened in 1 year because we officially started the business in 17. And then 2018, we're starting to do coatings and everything. So we went to trainings, and I've always loved polishing cars. I sanded cars with my dad when I was a kid. First truck I ever did was a 1980 Power Wagon. Love classics. So we started going that direction. And my dream initially was to be able to work on a classic collection. And I did that in 2018. We achieved that very quickly. And that's actually how we were able to.
Long if you find the right client, right?
Right. And that's what propelled us. It was a collection in storage. It was heated storage. So I was able to work through the winter and actually make money. And then I used that money to get my first shop.
And is it the shop you're in now?
No, we grew out of that first shop in honestly 3 months. But it took us a full.
Okay, when you say us, who's detailing? What's happening?
So I pulled my back out in 2019, just the end of 2019, and 2 weeks go by and it didn't heal. I wasn't getting better, so I hired my first guy, Devin. He's still with me now. So Devin initially, and then we had Glenn and Tanner in the smaller shop. Grew out of that, moved from the 16. This is an interesting story too. Moved out of the 1,600 into a 4,000 square foot shop. Only reason why I got that 4,000 square foot shop, and you're welcome to bleep this out, but it's because I was called a faggot. We had a neighbor that was not a friendly person and seemed to think they could dictate who parked where. And we would go in on Saturdays just because they didn't work, and we could, flood the shop with work and have plenty of cars in the parking lot. And the son of the owner had basically wanted to fight me over a parking space, and I was like, bro, we're not going to do this. Dude stood like 5'6". I stand 6'3", 300 pounds. Like, I'm not interested in this. This is stupid. And he walked away, then came back and tried to start a fight again, and then called me a faggot. And my response to that was, actually, I am. Me and my husband run this business. Is there a problem with that? And that's when I decided I'm going to stand my ground because you're not going to call me that. And he bowed down, left, went back to what he was doing. Management happened to be on the lot that day. So I talked to him and said, hey, I don't want to start trouble, but I think all of us need to get together with basically a monitor and have a conversation. An adult that can be like, no, you're not allowed to say those things. And they were like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And when they came over, they came to my shop first. And they were like, hey, you ready to go talk to Todd and his son? And I went, hang on a minute. I applied for this other shop to move. So basically, we could solve this problem. You guys denied me. They owned the building. It was a building across the street. You guys denied me because you don't want car businesses over there. Why don't I put $20,000 of lighting and everything in that shop, make you happy? Let's just sever my lease here. Let's just move on. And then we don't have to deal with this guy. We don't even have to have the conversation because he's not going to change. He's been there 20 years and nobody likes him. And the owner went, 20 grand in lighting, huh? I said, yeah, I need to put paint correction lighting and stuff in there, and it's not like I can take it with me. He's like, done deal. And that's how we got my other shop. So again, hardship turns into positive.
I'm starting to see that the medicine is in the work.
The mindset.
The mindset.
The medicine's in the mindset.
Yeah. It's kind of how you
That's a
see it
t-shirt.
all. There we go. Next t-shirt. So you're an entrepreneur. So you moved to this 4,000 square foot shop, which I've had a 4,000 square foot shop. That is a lot of space, and that's money you got to make every month to pay for all the rent, utilities. So what's your operation looking like now? Move space. What year is it? Like, give me a sense of that transition.
We moved in there 2021 because we were because we went in the first shop 2020. So we moved in there 2021. Immediately, same thing. We maxed out the shop. I honestly need a bigger shop, but I don't want more overhead. We're really working on efficiency, and processing what we can in the square foot that we have. I'm building a shop at home at this point that's going to become a training center, and then it's going to be all high-end detail. But as we transition through 21, 2, 3, we've gotten more and more efficient so that we can increase the revenue that comes through the shop, pay the guys more. I mean, we have some of the highest paid technicians in the United States. And I'm proud of that. We give them health insurance, they get vacations, they get their birthday off, they get their anniversaries with their wives and partners off. So we take really good care of our team. And we've been able to grow that because of the revenue. As we get efficient within the space, which Ivan's a part of. I've had many efficiency conversations with Ivan and how things should work because he's the efficiency king. But that's the main goal. I mean, that's what we've been doing in this shop. We toyed with PPF. Nothing against it. It's just if you're doing a ton of paint correction in a wide open space, it's hard to do PPF because of the dust it covers or it creates. We toyed with the idea of maybe making a clean room, but the square footage is it's laid out funny. So a clean room would be really awkward in that space. So we took it all out. We now outsource PPF and tint. We'll do pretty much anything. Like if you want a job, like you're willing to pay money to have your car done the way you want it done. We've got a paint striper that'll come through, a dent repair guy. We've got tint, PPF. I mean, I can even get wheels. The interesting fact, the home shop's going to have a tire machine and a balancer machine, which obviously I know how to use because I was a tech.
Yeah.
So we'll do pretty much anything, and that's what it's morphed into. Is we call it the dreamy experience. Let's talk. If you're not willing to have a chat and conversation, you're probably not the right customer for us, because we want to talk about what makes your ride dreamy.
So you entertain people's dreams and try to make them happen for them. That's a cool concept. Is that what you have with Dirty2Dreamy, or is that your story, or what's the symbolism there? What's the
It's so. I mean, truth be told, the dreamy part came in. It was 2011 in a house that I rented with two other friends. I was drunk. They were drunk. I was like, dirty too. I need another Z word. What was going to sound good? And my roommate was like, dreamy. And that's where it originally came from, but it's morphed into the idea of touching lives through detail. We have a power as detailers to do something that most people don't even really realize. If we find out that somebody's got cancer in the middle of detail, we don't charge them. If we find out that they're going through hardship, we do it for free. If we find out that the car is stolen or recovered, we don't charge them. To be able to wipe away a dirty act with a clean act is that's what Dirty2Dreamy is now. It's the ability to do kindness, and the business has to succeed and make profit to be able to do that. So we do like food drives, and I dress up as Santa every year. We go shopping for the food bank. My mom passed in 2022 along with my dog, actually two dogs, a family dog and my grandmother. So we had a rough year, but we dedicated our food drive that year to them and raised over $22,000 for the local food banks. So the business has become a community impact as opposed to just a detail and cleaning business.
It seems like you've succeeded in a way that a lot of detailers could only dream of. No pun intended. What do you think it is that's holding most detailers back? Because I see you doing a lot of coaching now, and I know you want to help people. So it's probably very individualized, but are there some common themes out there that you just feel like you've lived it? Like you're living it now. You're not 20 years removed from it. You're in the trenches. What wisdom do you have?
It's the same thing that I went through. It's you get in your own way. You're your own worst critic. Perfection is the enemy of progress. I could throw out all the typical quotes. It's a detailer thinking they can't do it and struggling with the idea of I can't make that decision because I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, or I don't, all these excuses. So personal ownership and accountability is really what holds most of them back. The idea that they can't accomplish their dream. It's a dream is just a dream. What's the saying? A dream written down is a goal. A goal broken down into steps is a plan. A plan executed is a something. A dream come true? Question mark. But they don't do that. They just dream. They dream and dream and dream, and then they don't take action. And that's coaching too. And I'm sure Ivan could agree with this. The amount I've coached hundreds of people at this point, because I coached people before detailing of repair space for 13 years, and I coached every owner that I ever worked with. How to run their shop, how to run people. I've read leadership books since I was like 16 years old, because those 2 years that I went through that hardship, I pretty much was a bookworm at home, and I studied the human body. I studied physiology. I studied the mind, how we work, and learned how to essentially manipulate people to get what I wanted, because I didn't like people because of what had happened to me. I learned to grow and love people through that. And the biggest thing is ourselves. You give somebody a task and they don't do it. You get to week 6 of coaching and you're like, hey, I told you to find out what works. Like any detailer has access to the information that causes them to succeed already. If you're working on a car right now, how did you get it? Did it come from Facebook? Did it come from a post? Was it a referral? Do that more. That's the beginning. It's that simple. Do what's already working more. Once you do that, then you branch off into other things and you do those things. But they won't take the time to take the action of looking at how did I do it. And it's simple things like, how did you hear about us? Oh, I saw you on Facebook. Okay, cool. I need to do more Facebook. And they won't ask the question. Oh, it's just awkward to ask that on the phone. Okay, well, then it's awkward to own a business. Go get a job. I don't know what else to tell you. Those are the things that I've used to succeed. And those are the things that everyone uses to succeed. It's data. The businesses are data driven. I'm not new to business at all. I ran shops for 13 years and I always did well. I was always top 3 in the company. I'm a numbers freak. I love data. I actually run data for companies. So when somebody wants to find out how they've succeeded, I'll go through your P&L I'll go through your bank accounts, whatever. I pull and make spreadsheets, graphs, trending data. I figure out how you succeeded, why you succeeded, and we replicate it and scale it. It's all data, and you just have to look at it.
So your success is not an accident, is what you're telling me.
It's a lot of hard work. It's not an accident by any means, and I'd never say that. I'd also never say that I got lucky. Because people say all the time, "Oh, I just got lucky." Man, I'm not going to diminish my achievements like that. I worked hard, and there's several nights that I stayed up late making spreadsheets just to see, just an example. What do we do as human beings? We wake up every day and try to improve ourselves. So we're hardwired to look at the bad and improve it because we do it within ourselves. You do that to a business, you waste your marketing money because you're busy trying to make January busy instead of maximizing March. March is when the money's already coming in. So you spend your marketing dollars when it's already coming in. Now you can be picky about the customers you choose. Now you're working with the people you want to work with. Those people will refer others to you. But instead, you look at January and February like, oh, I really can't be slow this year in January and February. Go take a vacation. The trending data says that you're going to be slow. That's the best time to take a vacation. And it's cold in most areas of the U.S.
Let's not forget that January and February are rough months.
Yep.
For whether you're selling the detail chemicals, whether you're selling the detailing services, it's not reinvent the wheel. The cold months when there's snow on the ground, detailing is slower. It just kind of is what it is. And there's reasons to keep the car clean. There's reasons to get your services. There's all kinds of reasons to get that detail if you're out there as an enthusiast or just a car person. But I know what it's like to have the shop and to have the chemical line now, and it's a little bit slower in January.
Yep. Well, here's a good example. Mariah Carey. Does she make money throughout the entire year? Absolutely. Where does she put all of her money, though? When it comes to marketing, advertisement, and putting herself out there, it's the last quarter because she has an obnoxious portfolio when it comes to Christmas songs. Why would she try to push that in January, February, March when it only makes sense to push it last quarter? So, I mean, you look at detailers, for example, and automotive in general, 44% of the average automotive business revenue is made in the last quarter. People don't realize how powerful that is because everybody's traveling. They want their car to look good. Their family's coming over. You got the Jones syndrome. They're buying gift cards. They're looking for sales. They're in spend mode. And detailers start to give up in November. We have an obnoxious Black Friday sale every year that we make six figures with. It's the best time of the year to market and push your services is October, November, December. And then boom, January hits. And it's like, I'm not going to waste my money trying to market in January. Everybody's recouping. And we live in a nation of debt. So your January and February is where they're paying off all their credit cards from the Christmas presents they bought. So trying to force and push that, yes, you may end up with the sales, but those same people may have purchased in March and been a little bit more open with their wallet and bought the top tier package versus buying the one they can afford because they maxed out their cards for Christmas. So it's all in trending data. Business, I could take any business and look at their trending data and tell you where to put your marketing money.
What services have been most profitable for you in your business?
Honestly, so maintenance grew the company. We created a maintenance program. This is an interesting thing about accountability. Kerwin Ray talks about this. If you just blame yourself for everything, you'll get past the complaining and pissing and moaning about it, and you'll get back to action. So we were struggling mobile to get business in when it was raining, and we're in Washington. It rains all the time.
Yeah.
So I told Andrew, I said, I'm going to figure this out. And we're going to figure out how we can make money when it rains, or we're going to close. I'm going to go back to get a job because this is ridiculous. You do 2 months where you crush it, and then you have 2 straight weeks of just downpours, and all the money that you put aside in your reserve you then use. I don't want to do that. I want to create regular revenue. So I locked myself in my office, and I came up there. It was an annual paid maintenance.
Wait, you actually locked yourself in your office? Like, tell me what you said that kind of as an aside, but I'm actually picturing you doing this. So what did you actually do?
I locked the door, closed the door. I got 2 dry erase boards that I keep on the office wall, and I just started like, what can I sell? If it rains, I can't detail anymore. What can I sell that's in my company that doesn't take from the niche aspect? Because I don't want to start diversifying. We did that in the beginning. We did like pressure washing and stuff, and it just dilutes the model. So what could I sell in my model that was detailing that keeps us true to who we are? And that's when I developed our maintenance program. And it was terrible at the beginning. For $600, I detailed your car every 2 months for a year. It was a horrible idea, but we did that, and we did 2 details, and we realized people can get a car pretty darn dirty in 2 months.
Yeah.
And I called, and I called those 10 clients and was like, hey, thanks for trying this beta test program. Didn't work out. Really need to see the cars every month. We're going to double the price. You guys can be the first one on the program. Every one of them signed up. They all gave me another $600. So our annual program was a basic interior detail, exterior wash, just a hand wash. Not doing the barrels and all that. Ivan talks about that sometimes too.
Yeah.
Don't do the barrels for 3 months and see how many people complain.
See if anyone ever complains about the barrels, right? And I stopped. That was the one thing I stopped doing, because I've worked with Ivan a lot. He doesn't actually. You think he's like, oh, skip the barrels. Like he doesn't actually detail, and he just does it on YouTube to act like, no. He doesn't miss things. He's very thorough, to the point where like we're doing a car for a video and then the camera turns off, and he's that meticulous even with the lights. When the red light's off, he still wants it to be thoroughly done. So when he says don't do the barrels, actually like 5 years later since I first heard that advice, I'm like, that's still kind of shocking to me. But it's he's not telling you don't do the barrels, but like you said, he's like, try not doing them and then see if you're getting customer feedback, right?
Yeah.
Just do that yourself.
They need to pay. On a maintenance wash that what pencils out to $100 a month, why am I spending 30 minutes on the barrels of your wheels? That doesn't pencil out to profit. So our maintenance level doesn't include that. If it's wide open and obvious and we can get them, sure. But if you got intricate barrels, we're not going for it. So that was successful. We got through that first year and we were like, that's a good program. So we ran a Black Friday sale that year to re-up people, raise the price to $12.95 for the year. All of those people re-upped. Every one of those people got ceramic coatings. They all started without, but every month, hey, I'd recommend getting a ceramic coatings. I'm noticing wear on your leather. I'm noticing wear on your paint. I'm noticing wear on your plastics. Let's protect it. Let's protect it. They all got ceramic coatings. So what we used it for as basically a launching point into being ceramic coating professionals, paint correction professionals, as opposed to maintenance and detailing. And then it became, it's a shop that feeds a shop that feeds a shop. This is a model. It's called a 3-shop model by Firestone. It is, the Firestone does it, tire shop, repair shop, diagnostic shop. And each shop feeds the other shop. So you have your techs that are low level that do your maintenance level. And then you have your mid-level techs that do the next tier. And then your top level techs that do your paint correction, ceramic coating, everything else. That ceramic coating now needs maintenance. So when it's done with its ceramic coating, we say, hey, we have a maintenance program. They're in that maintenance program until they need a ceramic coating again. So it feeds itself. It's a circle.
All in the same shop, though?
Yep.
So how many technicians do you have at your shop?
There's including me and Andrew, there's a total of 6 of us.
And are you still detailing?
No. I'll go into the shop every once in a while here and there. We came back from Hawaii last year, September. Haven't worked in the shop since then. That was our official exit. We told the guys, we're buying the house. The house has the shop at home that's going to be turned into the training studio. I can't run 2 business or 2 shops at the same time. I mean, I can, but I need staff in both of them first. So I need to be able to focus on this. It's yours, sink or swim. And that advice I got from Ivan. We were on a phone call and I was talking to Ivan. I was like, it's so hard to exit because you exit and it'll never run the way you ran it. It'll run the way you systemized it. But then you look at some decisions and you're like, man, I would have done that different. And you're constantly wanting to get back into it. And he said, just leave for a month. If you can't leave for a month, then it's not ready. Leave for 3 months after that. And that's what we did. We left for a couple of weeks, and then we left for a month, and then we left for 2 months, and then we came back from vacation, and we haven't been back in the shop since.
Wow. And it's still going.
It didn't burn down. We're doing good.
So you have a fully running detailing shop without you there.
Correct.
It can be done.
It absolutely can be done. It's like passing a kidney stone, but it can be done for sure. It's the same thing with automotive repair, though. Automotive repair is actually more difficult because you have high diagnostic stuff. They're taking apart engines and you don't have the right tech and you take apart an engine, it's never going back together. It's because if they don't organize the parts when they take it apart, you'll never find them. So you'll have to bring in another technician and he'll go, I just want to know new parts. And you lose your ass on that entire job. So running a repair shop, the way I did that was I worked repair. I was a steering and suspension technician. So I knew it. I'd go out and I'd bust out a set of tires or I'd bust out some tie rods, do an alignment just to show the guys, hey, you can respect me. I can do the job you do. And then I'd work with the team till I knew that I had a guy in the shop that could control things. And then I'd start to exit. And I brought business into our repair shops by doing business to business. I'd show up at the bank and be like, hey, you guys need any maintenance? I'll drive your car over. Don't worry about dropping it off. I'll just come to the bank. When I make my deposit, I'll pick your car up. I'll bring it over to the shop. Started bringing more work in. I would bring in so much work that I would then have to be a tech until I hired the person that I was training. And I would train that person one-on-one. And then within 2 to 3 weeks, I would step out again and bring more work in. And I did this at Firestone, Jiffy Lube, Honest One Auto Care, Meineke. I worked at 20 different shops, which is, that can segue into another interesting story. Every shop that I worked at, I had to fire somebody for dishonesty. It plagues the automotive industry, which could segue into another thing of the question of how much is a detail. People constantly worry about that. As detailers, they don't want to deal with that question. It comes because people hurt people in the automotive industry. Everybody that has either had a brake job, a transmission service, a set of tires, a car repair, a detail that they've been screwed over, and they have a pain point. It's like, where did the bad person touch you? And that's why they ask how much, because they're literally asking, how much am I paying to get screwed? Because they don't trust us. The industry has a lack of trust. That's why we created the Dreamy model. It's why we're so transparent. It's why we follow up. It's why we send pictures. It's why I talk to you throughout the entire service. If I'm the tech working on the car or my lead tech, we're texting you. Hey, I noticed this. Hey, I noticed that. Hey, I noticed this. We've texted people so much to the point where a customer will say, hey, I trust you. You don't need to update me on every little thing. Sweet.
So
That's
your
the goal.
text during the detail?
Absolutely. Whole time.
And that seems to work. The customers like that?
Oh, yeah. They love it. Look at our reviews on Google. That's one of the biggest compliments we get. We have 274 question mark, I think.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Because for me, I used to be like, I'll just work really hard and then it'll be so awesome at the end that they'll be stoked. But I didn't really communicate very well during it. And as anyone in a relationship or business knows, communication is just kind of important. Just like
it's huge. Yeah. Especially when you've heard the saying that overpromise or underpromise, overdeliver.
Yeah.
Right. We do that. We set it up like that's the system. And I'm actually going to be using AI this year to really dial in the system to create a book that is the system of Dirty2Dreamy. We're going to do it by recording what we do. And while we're recording the team, I'm going to be narrating. And then I'm going to put that recording into ChatGPT and say, hey, make an SOP out of this. And we're going to make a book. But that's the system. The system is to say, you send them all this information about their car to say, hey, I can't fix that. I can't fix this. I can't fix that. But as you well know, they don't see most of that. So when they come in, they're like, I was expecting to be disappointed. This car looks fantastic. Like, yeah, we call that the dreamy experience. And then we giggle a little bit and we get a good tip and they refer all their friends to us. That's just how it works. It's under promise, over deliver.
What's the best advice you ever received?
I'd have to go with Kerwin Ray on that. Blame yourself for everything. That he's since passed. He passed last year, 49 years old, had a heart attack. And he was in the best shape of his life. He did this whole series on social media where he got in shape and passed away after it, which is just sad. But by blaming myself, even the things that you don't think are your fault, just blame yourself, because the immediate next step is to what? Take action and fix it. It's ownership. It's the ultimate form of ownership. If I take accountability for everything, even things that aren't my fault, no one has any power over me.
What do you think detailers should start doing right now?
Educate. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself and invest in your customers. The education that you learn, put out in the public. The trainings that you go to, the stuff that you read, the blogs you're going through, share it with your customers. Have a good time. Goof over what you do. I tell people this all the time. Like, you go to a car show, right? What's a detailer do? He walks up to a car and goes, ooh, this has swirls. I can fix that. That's like walking up to somebody's newborn baby and going, that's ugly. It's just a bad idea. You walk up to that car and go, this is a really nice car. I'd love to touch it. I want to touch it in all its dirty places. And they giggle. And it begins that, like, okay, this guy's a little strange. What do you mean you want to touch it in all its dirty places? It's not dirty. I'm a detailer. I just like to touch cars, and you have a beautiful car, and I'd love to touch it sometimes. And that works really well because you're not insulting them. You're making them giggle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I got the classic collection. We looked at it was a 56 Chevy Bel Air, yellow. And he was like, what do you think? What can you do? I said, I can touch this in all of its dirty places. I can make this look so stunning. And he's like, okay. And that 56 was surrounded by 22 other classics. And I thought it was a storage unit where somebody owned the storage and people used it to park their classic cars. So I thought I was dealing with like 20 different owners. It was one owner that owned the whole collection. The only car that he didn't own was the one I was about to work on. So I charged $1,200 and I did a full wet sand on that car, and I made that paint as flat as possible and looked glorious. So the other owner came in and went, huh, that looks better than my cars. And that's how I got the classic collection, was by saying, I'd love to touch your car in all of its dirty places.
So that's the line, huh?
That's the line. Put it on paper, use it.
I'm just curious because a lot of people aren't going to feel comfortable going on camera, but it seems like you going on camera and just sharing your honest truths about life and cars and what you're learning really worked for you. Like, how can no one's average. How can a detailer out there take that and learn something from it in terms of like how to market themselves?
There's a thing that happens when you go live, and I challenge every person that I've ever coached when it comes to social media, go live for 365 days straight. You learn that you have to adapt immediately. Like, for instance, you drop a microfiber towel on the ground live. It then turns into a teachable moment. You pick it up and go, I'm not going to use this on paint anymore because it's got debris in it. I'm going to set it over here. That now becomes a door jamb or a wheel tower or whatever it is. And you explain what it is. And that's happened to me. By going live 365 days, by the end of that, I was comfortable. I was not comfortable in the beginning. My first videos were my hands. Literally, I did stain removal videos and I did how-tos, step-by-steps, and I voiced them over. And finally, after, I want to say like a month of those, it was like, you're live, show us your face. We want to see you. And they asked for it. And then I did show my face and I got more views. There's a pinstriper, Billy is his name. He's out of Florida. He's got a phenomenal story too. He's a former police officer. He actually recently just shot somebody. Somebody tried to run over his kid in his driveway and kill his kid. Another story for another day, but he went viral over and over again. Just his hand, right? It's his hand doing this pinstripe, freehand. Everybody loved it, millions of views. And then he finally decided, I'm going to show my face, because somebody had said he's probably just an old fart. And he's only like 45 years old. So he shows his face, and in the top it said, I'm not an old fart, or something like that. That video got, I think, 46 million views because everybody was waiting to see his face. People want to see you. Like, why are you so afraid? Your customers that already work with you, already love you, want to see you putting yourself out there. They want to support that. They want to fan that flame. And those that don't aren't your people. And I got that saying from one of my clients. We were sitting in her car one day, and I was talking to her about a person that complained about service and how we did what we didn't want to answer the questions in the sales process, and pissed and moaned about it. And she said, Jonathan, those aren't your people. And that's what putting yourself out there for social media does. Don't do it for fame. If you do it for fame, you'll hate it. It becomes a job. I do it for fun. I still do it for fun. I haven't made posts on our, Jaron now does our social media on Instagram and TikTok for the shop. I'm waiting until the training center's done, and I have a personal Instagram now, Jonathan Michael Monson, and I make a video like once a week now, because I'm in a cabin in the woods. I don't want to do social media. I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor the last 10 years. Once the shop's open, I'll get back to it, but do it for fun. Have some fun.
So I saw you posting recently where you were offering some business coaching, and you were showing the cabin and be like, I was able to buy all of this, so I'm legit, right? Like, I think there's a sense that, it's really hard now to be a professional detailer and be profitable.
I disagree. And I have Ivan LaCroix, Rennie Doyle, and those like Mike Phillips that have come before us. I mean, try to be a profitable detailer back then when you couldn't get more than $150, $200 for a buff job. When people knew there was only so far you could go with the detail. The technology that those first people, the Sherpas of our industry. We started a company, Certified Professional Detailers, that Mark Barger now runs. You get certified, learn how to do business, learn how to scale. My entire business model is behind that closed door. I don't make a dime from it. I gave it all to Mark. I said, keep it. We call the people that support that are the industry leaders Sherpas, because they forge the path to allow us to do this. This is easy, guys. It's not hard. You got a phone, you got social media, you got Facebook groups, you've got so many easy ways to market that they didn't have back then. When I ran repair shops, I developed Valpak ads and newspaper clippings and receipt tape ads. Like, those were complicated. This stuff is easy. You can say the dumbest thing on social media and someone out there is going to like it. It's just the way it is. It's not hard anymore. And I'm not saying it's not hard work to build a business. You have to be consistent, and that's why it's hard, because humans lack consistency. They lack accountability. And to wake up every day, on the day you wake up and you go, I don't want to go in. The reason why I surpassed so many people in my area is because of those days I still did it. I have systems and things that keep me going. My gratitude every morning, my thankfulness. I was just saying this to Andrew. I look at myself every morning in the mirror and go, damn, you're sexy. And you're going to crush it today. Because you have to be proud of yourself first before you can go into a day so there's some days I don't want to work. You're working on a minivan that's got a terrible smell in it that you vomited 3 times because it's just gross. That's not something everybody wants to do. And there's some days that you don't want to go in and do it, but you do it because that's the next step to the dream, the mission, the reason why you exist.
So you got any morning routine or morning mantras for me? And maybe we can kind of end on a positive note there of like what other practices you have in your life that, again, you're in this nice little rural cabin on 5 acres, building it out, living the dream. You've worked your butt off to get there. So what else has helped you?
I'll give you 2. My mornings start with gratitude, always. Hardships also start with gratitude. So like when our first canopy got knocked over because of a windstorm, we walked out. I told Andrew, we were just talking about this. I just got concrete done in my shop, and I was talking to him how we're so thankful for everything. You look at hardship and you walk out and you go, what can I be thankful for? Before I start bitching, pardon my French, but complaining about what's going on, what can I be thankful about before I ever get to that? And then the gratitude makes it look so easy. One hardship versus 200 things to be grateful for. The hardship isn't that big anymore. It's not that big a deal. So I started every day. I'm happy that I have my digits, my fingers and toes. I've got all of them. There's a lot of people that don't. I got both arms, both legs. I can talk a lot. I'm good at it. I've got vision so far. That might go in my 50s. We'll see. But I've got all my appendages. I've got the ability to work. I've got the ability to produce. I'm intelligent. And you start with gratitude. And your day can't go wrong if you start with gratitude. It's literally impossible. That's how I made it to here. Here, I'm in awe of myself. I look at it, and I literally just did a 12-minute video where I was talking about this. The beginning of our company was a 1977 Ford F-250 with 5 teeth missing out of the flywheel. Every time we parked at a customer's house, don't you know that flywheel landed on that blank spot? And I don't know if you know anything about flywheels, but if the flywheel has a blank spot with missing teeth and you try to start it, it goes... And it sounds terrible, and it's quote unquote embarrassing for most people. I was still proud. I was proud that I was doing what I needed to do to get by. And I would go, Andrew, hang on. And I would take the fan and I would turn it a couple cranks to get it away from that blank spot and go, okay, crank her up. And he'd crank her up. And every time that truck started, I was proud because I fixed that truck. It wasn't working when I got it. So I'm in awe of myself. I walk out on my porch and I look at my property and go, is this really mine? This is pretty cool. And I'm 5 months in. I feel like I'm still in an Airbnb. And I want to keep that. I want to keep that because that's what drives me. Success isn't achieved, it's rented. You have to put in the work. And the work gets easier and more fun, but you still have to put in the work. And that's how I start my day. I just start my day in awe, and then I get to come back to it at night. Even if I go to the shop and we have an absolutely just terrible day, the pressure washer goes down, the wash bay clogs up and overflows. There's water in the lobby. The machines stop working. You go home and you're like, it's not that bad. Haven't had my face crushed today, and that's that superpower from that scenario. And now I got all this. It's really not that bad.
The perspective and gratitude. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, what if every time I blinked it hurt? Right? It's like something I take for granted every single day. I'm like, my eyes will blink and I don't even have to think about it. That's pretty awesome. And like you said, like I'm aware of the fact that I have these like appendages. That's pretty awesome. And I can be aware of the fact that I'm aware of the awareness. And I don't know. It gets pretty trippy, man. I think the awe and the wonder and the stokedness about life that I feel like you embody is obviously a part of your success, if not all of it.
There's a man that lived his entire life in an iron lung with a smile on his face and a song in his heart. Like, it gives me chills and it gets me emotional to think, if I can complain about this, I don't deserve to be alive. I don't deserve any of what I have. And I 100% believe in a higher power. I believe in God. Some people call it synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. But when you put the energy into this world that you're grateful for what you have, the world gives you more. If you're going through and you're like, oh, I'm at $8,000 months and I can't get to 10, I just can't make it. Look at your routine. Are you thankful throughout the whole routine? Are you grateful for 8,000? Or do you complain about it? 9 times out of 10, that person's complaining about it. They're complaining they can't get to the next level. They're complaining about their hardships. The world's not going to give it to you until you're thankful for it. The moment that you find...
Oh, you think infusing your life with more gratitude is going to bring you more success?
Absolutely. The law of attraction is a real thing. I can tell you factually every time that we've made a big decision in business, and this includes terminating people. This is the first time I've ever on like a podcast or publicly talked about this. I had to let my manager go, Glenn. Love the kid to death. He had when it comes to my company, I'm looking for people that want to help people. As much as I want great technicians, I want good paint correction specialists, I want humans that like to help humanity. That is the mantra of my company now. Glenn was the embodiment of that. I spent 3 years trying to get him to fit. He was too nice. He would let the techs walk all over him. He'd let the customers walk all over him. They'd take too much. And I ended up having to let him go. When I let him go, the next week, we crushed it in sales. And every time I've ever let somebody go, and it's hard that's the reason why I say I can't scale to a location in every state, which is something I'd love to do. And it's because I don't have a rake rock. My heart is on my sleeve, and it takes me too long to make decisions about staffing. Because I want to take care of people and I want them to last. But every time I've ever fired somebody, the result is the next thing that happens is increase. And that's what I'm talking about. Like when you make the right decisions of taking care of you and making the hard decisions and being thankful and being grateful, it's scientific. One of the pieces that was left with me from Kerwin was when it comes to cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone, right? What fights cortisol? What's the thing that controls cortisol in the human body?
Tell me.
DHEA. It's a supplement produced in the body. What does DHEA come from? Gratitude. Thankfulness. Really? Gratitude. When you give somebody something like a car, I'm getting chills. When you give somebody something like a car or a gift or something that they didn't expect, somebody going through hardship that needs $1,000 and you're like, here. And that feeling you get where you get chills, goosebumps, that's the release of DHEA. It's the reduction of cortisol, the reduction of stress, and the feeling of, So when we started our company and I reached the stressful marks, I held a food drive so that I could deal with the stress. I gave of myself to others. The body is wired to do that, and that's why I'm a believer. And that's why I believe in the divine design of the body. God designed our bodies to be grateful. And if we're not grateful, we're stressed out, we're hormonal, we're frustrated all the time, and we make horrible decisions. But if we're grateful, we make good decisions and our business thrives and we grow. And that's why it's so important to be grateful and thankful.
I am grateful and thankful for this conversation. And
great segue. Love it.
Some of this brightness that we're hopefully able to folks. If folks want to cultivate gratitude, folks want to learn about how to business. I know you're doing a lot of business coaching kind of hooks and pitches on your Instagram. So it seems like your new part of your new world is coaching and trying to recruit people into the coaching funnel. Where do you want to send them? What's the message? What's the pitch? The floor is yours, sir.
I mean, if you this goes for coaching, wanting to pay me for something, or even if you just want to ask a question. I'm like Ivan. If you want to call me, have a conversation, I just need to schedule it. I'm a busy guy. Shoot me an email at jonathan@dirty2dreamy.com and ask whatever. Even if it's just a quick question. I jumped on 3 phone calls yesterday for 15 minutes just to answer questions about silly things about business. And it's something as simple as, I've been running Google ads for 2 weeks and they're not performing. What should I do? Shut up and keep running them. It's only been 2 weeks. And I'm okay to jump on the phone and help you with that. I mean it when I say that my mission is to touch lives through detail. That's my goal. And we're 2 years away from the true goal, which is to be able to do similar to what Ivan does. I want to be able to jump in an RV and I want to be able to travel the US paid for by another company, a product company, a Rupes, whoever, and hold basically car washes, helping people in communities, people with cancer, veterans, those kind of things, and then teaching detail businesses how to run their businesses for free. And the ability to do that is just hop in an RV and go do it in different states. And then we'll create a Facebook page where people follow it. So I truly want to help. Email me. You can text me too, 206-349-4447. I pretty much text all day long, every day, helping people. So I'm happy to help.
Well, I appreciate you helping me and all of our viewers here on the Thor Media Network and Nick at Night. Learn a lot. So Jonathan, thanks again, man.
Of course. Love it.